Cheers, guys. Welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be talking about how to actually manifest a job acceptance offer. So this could be maybe you went to an interview already, maybe you haven't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read this post on Reddit on the Neville sub because it is a phenomenal example of success with utilizing different techniques to get the job offer. And then I'm also going to break it down, discuss it, and add some of my own bonus tips here at the end. So here, let's begin. So it begins as a success story. It says, important note, I bawled my eyes out in unhappiness after getting the offer because I was in such shock thinking that everything is fake and I'm actually experiencing a SAT scene that only feels real but is not my reality. So as you can tell, my disbelief game was strong till the very end, but I still got what I want because the subconscious manifests, not the conscious. So they've written here, techniques used, wallpaper technique. You probably heard of this before, but I've never heard it being called this. We'll talk about it here in a second. So the affirmations, robotic affirming, and lullaby method, as well as SATs. And the recent video I did on the lullaby method, it's essentially just doing your robotic affirmations in that drowsy, sleepy state as you're falling asleep, much like you do the SATs session. So here, step 1, recognize your natural habits. And I think this is a very important point to bring up. I've talked about this a lot, that your natural habits, the natural tendencies that you have, everything works, right? When we talk about this, I've had mentors in business and in other areas talk about how everything works, but it's really about what works for you. So let's get into this. When I started trying to manifest a software engineering internship without a coding round, I had no confidence in my ability to actually attract it because A, I've never consciously manifested before, and B, my desire is so rare. I was kind of unserious about it out of lack of self-belief, but I did it as a last resort, hoping it would work. I said my affirmation whenever I started stressing, only to save my health more than trying to manifest because I still didn't believe I could do it. I used the affirmation as a means to relax my anxiety, secretly hoping at the back of my mind that it magically works. I would say, oh my gosh, I received an internship offer without even giving a technical interview. Crazy, right? So, by the way, this is an internship, but the principles apply the same because this internship was as you can see, and we'll see here, was a kind of difficult to get internship, and it's the same process regardless of it's a job or internship. But the way they phrase this, right? This is using the language that this person would normally use. For me as well, I don't speak in a way that's like, everything's wonderful. That's just not something that I would normally say. So for me, I usually say something like that, like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh my God, I can't believe it worked. It worked. Can you fucking believe it? Like, even just throw in the expletives, whatever type of language that you would actually use. And I talk about this in my book. I have a lot of examples for this, but moving on. So after a bit, I would get distracted with other unrelated thoughts. So I would let my mind wander and forget about the affirmation. This is also a good point to add in here, is that if you actually did get something, you wouldn't be, and obviously this is all context dependent, but I think it's nice to allow your mind to then wander because you're still carrying that state or that kind of state that the affirmation would carry along into your other normal thoughts. So it says, notice how I'm not forcing my mind to focus on anything, but only sneakily adding new thoughts into my existing brain chatter. So that's an interesting point to make. I also never had a routine because I didn't think a routine would work. Nothing in my day-to-day life is a routine except college. Every day looks different, so I kind of didn't feel like doing my affirmations on a routine either. It was natural for me. It wasn't that deep. I didn't believe a fixed routine would work, so I didn't do it. Simple. I did what felt natural to me. This is a good example of this, of engaging with that feeling of naturalness and taking what people talk about. Everyone has their own ways and methods, and applying it in a way that works for you. Like this person said, they didn't have a routine. This way that they kind of casually did it probably also help them do it in this detached manner. It's this detached intention that they're doing it with. Not to say that the other way can't work. That's why this is all it's all about experimenting with this stuff. I stuck to my habits to blend what I'm trying to manifest with my actual reality. Also, I did whatever the fuck I want because I'm in control. Did I believe this fact? Nope. But I still rolled with it, reminding myself that I decide what will work for me. After doing this, I got an interview invite from a big company who I learned after Googling is known for not asking technical questions. I was suspecting that on my bridge of incidents, but was still not confident. Okay. Leading up to the interview increased the intensity of affirming because I thought about the desire a lot. I also added step two. So, step two, integrate visuals of any kind. I noticed how often I aimlessly check my phone just out of habit, even when no one has texted or called. I think a lot of us do this. This connects back to step one. So, I decided to set my wallpaper to an edited version of the acceptance letter from my company. So, at least seeing it as often would familiarize my mind to this new reality. And that is the image that I have in the thumbnail. I also changed my affirmation to I'm interning at company name. So obviously, if this was a job, it's just I'm working at company name. And one of the biggest success stories that I posted on this channel, it's one of the most popular. I think the video is called like the law of assumption, it works or something like that. It was posted during the summer. They had an affirmation that was exactly like this as well. I work at X company. I'm working at X company. And it was a tech company too, funny enough. So yeah. The other thing that I wanted to add here is like I don't know where they got this acceptance letter or how they were, it's easy enough for us nowadays to edit things in Canva. It used to be that Photoshop, it was more difficult, more of a learning curve and all that, but it's fairly simple and easy to edit these things now. So if you actually want to create a wallpaper or, make your vision board or whatever, the barrier isn't that tall. And I actually think it is very worthwhile to do. I've done this in the past for things, but this is another reminder of how effective this can be. I'm just not sure where they were able to even know or find what this acceptance letter looked like. I don't know. Maybe they reveal that in the comments or somebody asked about it. But moving on, right? So this would familiarize themselves because they already know they're compulsively looking at their phone, like we all do. So they had the affirmation as well. I'm interning at company name, and I would say it often leading up to the interview and after that, as I was thinking of it a lot. So that's a good thing too. It's like what triggers your affirmation. If you notice, like with this example for the job, as soon as you start thinking about it, as soon as you start feeling, oh, like, am I going to get it? And you start having those thoughts, you just switch into your affirmation mode. You're just like, I'm interning at this place. I'm working at X place, right? That's a way to get command over those thoughts, over those doubts, over those, whatever the mind is conjuring up. Now you're feeding it with the thoughts that you want to entertain. Okay, so partial success. Both my interviews ended up being purely behavioral. So I think, they're referring to, rather than getting all these technical questions, it was more of just an easier interview process, essentially is what they're saying. So as decision day was 2 to 3 days away, I started robotically affirming for 6 to 7 hours a day. That's a lot. I honestly think that that's excessive, but let's see. So I also did the lullaby method where you fall asleep repeating your affirmations. During this time, I dreamt of my completed manifestation twice. Basically, everyone was congratulating me on my offer in the dream, and I was really happy too. However, in waking life, I was still hyper aware that I don't have it yet and still no belief. Then decisions came out and I got waitlisted. This is when I went in denial and started at SATs. I didn't do it too many times, maybe over 4 to 5 nights, and I didn't sleep on it because I find it hard. I just looped my scene for a few minutes and then let my mind wander as I fall asleep. There was somebody else, and I'm going to post another video here where this was kind of another way that somebody was able to get into that more detached state by simply doing the scene, but then allowing their mind to wander. Or in this case, this other person simply did the scene and then watched a show. I think they were watching like some anime they were watching or some TV series that you're watching. And it's kind of another way to like this person said, integrate your practice with what you're already doing so that it becomes a natural part of what you're doing rather than being like, I have to do it like this. Sometimes that rigidity can cause that attachment. So again, so many paradoxes with this stuff. And again, it's very important, as I said at the beginning of the video, to figure out what works for you particularly. So I loop my scene for a few minutes and then let my mind wander as I fall asleep. Mind you, I didn't always feel emotions in sats and certainly never woke up with it's done, but I did it anyway. I kept my scene very natural going back to step one. I love this part here. So being in college, I FaceTime my parents a lot. So my scene was FaceTiming them, telling them the news and hearing them say in their typical dialogue that they say when they're happy, along with the same expressions and hand gestures that they usually do when they're excited, because it was so easy for me to imagine. I love this post and this success story because they're going into so much detail with their process. I think this type of thing is so helpful for people, everyone, because this is the type of thing, this is the type of tactile thing, and this is the type of thing that makes it so relatable to you. If you know your parents, if you know that they get crazy with their mannerisms and with their hand gestures, maybe you come from an Italian family or a Middle Eastern family or whatever, and you know they have a certain way. It could be any family. Maybe they come from the South, but they have a certain way of being very expressive. You got to add that into your scene. It's going to make it so much more relatable, so much more. It's going to make it more of an enjoyable process. It's going to get you in that feeling of naturalness that Neville talks about. And it's going to really add that tactile, all the tones of reality, like Vadim Zeland would say. And it's, if you do FaceTime, it could also be a call. It could be, whatever medium that you normally communicate in. And that's going to boost and charge this scene up with that, again, feeling of that naturalness and that feeling that of reality. Okay, so step 3, detachment. Now hold your horses and read what I've said first because I really dumbed it down. I don't believe this is necessary to manifest, but in this manifestation, this one helped unlock that last 10%. My subconscious was fully imprinted because I dreamt of it twice. So now what was left was getting out of my own way by shutting the consciousness who loves to notice the 3D. In other words, release awareness that I still don't have it, or what others complicate and call as living in the end. Acting detached equals acting like you have it, or the way I did it, ignoring the fact that you don't have it, equals acting from the end state. This is an interesting way that they've worded this here, because sometimes this feeling of neutrality that I talk about in my videos a lot, what is comfort? What is naturalness with a thing? Sometimes it's just the absence of discomfort. Sometimes belief is just the absence of disbelief. Sometimes that feeling of naturalness towards this thing is just the absence of all of that concern, all of that anxiety, all of that unnaturalness, all of that rigidity that you're imposing onto this process. So, and there's another saying too. There's so many different ways that you can talk about this, but sometimes that idea of like I am enough, you can also use this, which is like there's no reason I'm not enough. One of the best mental frameworks I've found, I think, after working with people, after working in my own mind for years, is just the idea that look, if everybody else can do this, and this could be in the context of anything. It could be the context of making money, of relationships, being successful in any area that you're looking to achieve. If these people are able to do this, we're all made up of the same neurotransmitters. We're all made up of the same substance, the same like biological brain cells. It's just how are we using them? How are we using what we've been given? So if these people can do it, then there's no reason I can't do it. If all of these people are enough for this relationship, or enough to make this money, or enough to have this abundance in their life and have the things that they want and enjoy a life that is fulfilling, if these people are able to do it, there's no reason that I can't do it, right? So it's a very interesting way that we can kind of flip this around, that if we feel that we're struggling with those feelings of I have it, or I am that belief, cultivating that belief. It's just another way, another route that we can go, that sometimes can maybe lessen that resistance for us. So like I said, I just wanted to touch on that because I think it's an important distinction, and I'm glad that they actually brought this up. It's a different way and a different frame of looking through this thing. Acting detached equals acting like you have it, but the way I did it is ignoring the fact that you don't have it and acting from the end state. So continuing, at the time, I didn't detach consciously. I did it because I was annoyed of trying. So I said, fuck it, and stopped noticing the lack of the internship. That doesn't mean I gave up or contrarily believe that I have it already by any means. It rather meant that I started ignoring that topic altogether. And this can be helpful sometimes. If I didn't have the mental capacity to constantly think positively, then I could still be neutral and not think of it at all because honestly, I didn't want to spoil Christmas with toxic positivity and piss myself off more. So I asked myself, what felt good? And at the time, it was the mental break from internship thoughts. Now that I think about it, I realize it's the same energy as already having my desire because you don't think about stuff you already have. That's what I did. I enjoyed time with my parents over Christmas break and 100% kept my mind present in the moment and focusing on making memories with them and having fun. Then, randomly, 2 days after Christmas, I get the call extending a verbal offer. This is the same idea of like watching paint dry, right? You're not gonna be able to watch the paint dry because you keep watching it, or watching the pot boil, right? There's these sayings and phrases that we have that are about this because it's like, oh, the more that you watch and you're waiting for that water to boil, it's not going to boil. As soon as you look away, that's when it's able to boil. And that's what they talk about in the double slit experiment too. It's like you're by like putting so much, again, this is so paradoxical, but sometimes by putting so much of this conscious, like exerting this kind of effort onto the situation, you're not allowing it to naturally fulfill itself, to like organically happen on its own. So very, very interesting points and nuanced points that this person's making in this post. So the end here, full success. I get the written offer and the subject of the email reads, congratulations, exactly as what I'd written in bold in my edited wallpaper. I also got the news while I'm with my parents and got to announce to them in person, which had a very similar vibe to my sad scene. And it's incredible how sometimes these scenes are such replicas of the scenes that we've imagined sometimes. So some of the top comments here are, congrats, this is very timely for me. I've been manifesting a job for a sibling. Going to take it as a sign. Best of luck. So these other people are talking about, so this person said, I remember when I got an internship with a tier 1 law firm. I was hellbound to get that internship. I used to email them follow-up calls and whatnot. I was after the internship for about 1 year. Then one day I just stopped everything. I was like, it will happen. And I know it is done. I know I have done whatever I can. May 2024, I received a call and then a week later, an email regarding my interview date. And I cracked the interview, obviously. I didn't know about law of assumption back then, but now when I look back, I guess this was it. You do whatever it is in your power and then believe it's done. And I like that. I like that sentiment. You do whatever is in your power and then believe it is done. It's the same ideas that Vadim Zeland talks about in Transurfing. And it's the same ideas that I talk about in my book. The gods help those who help themselves. You take steps towards your goal, but then you allow the universe to basically conspire in your favor, to make it happen, to do all the work in the background. You are like the producer, and the universe or God, source energy, is like executive producer. And you know that by you taking the steps and you doing your due diligence, what it is that you needed to do along the path, things are going to work in your favor. That is that knowing it into being, combined with, actually doing what makes sense to do. Okay, so there's a couple different things that I wanted to make here. Here's the bonus points that I wanted to add to this. So if you do know what this is going to look like, what your workplace looks like, for example, you can imagine yourself sitting at the desk. a scene where you're sitting at the desk of your new job, and you can imagine yourself being in that place. You could also imagine, again, these inner conversations. It could be with your friends. It could be with whoever that is natural to you. But you can also begin to have these inner conversations that are like, yeah, they're just so lucky to have me, like this job, they're really lucky that they scored me as the person to fulfill this position because I'm the best person for the job, like, you can also talk about how they are telling you that you are their best new worker and are the best worker that they've ever had. They're so happy, like whoever this person is. It could be your manager, it could be whoever's in the superior position to you, and they're so happy that you applied. Like they're so grateful that you are here because of how much better you are than the last person. It could be that you're the number one employee. You could imagine all these scenes, right? And then it could be, let's see here. You can even lean into that complaining aspect as well a bit. And it's, like, yeah, it's just like, it's really awesome how much they appreciate me here. I just like, sometimes I just want to be a normal human being though. Sometimes I just want to be normal, just like everybody else. But, they really, really are always telling me how much they love my work and love my presence here. And, I don't want to take away from anything from anywhere, from anyone else, right? I kind of feel bad for the other employees because they've been working like a lot longer than me, but I'm always the one getting all the props and all the attention all the time, right? So it's all these different ways. And again, it's what works for you that gets you into this state where you are having fun with this whole process and you are really embodying that state of already having the job, not trying to have to figure it out, not trying to have to stress about it. You're not trying to have to check your emails all the time and be stressed. It's like this person said, it's enjoying that time. Sometimes it's the absence of the discomfort. It's the absence of that unnaturalness, that all that tension, the absence of the tension, which gets you into that state of neutrality, that inner equilibrium that I'm always talking about in relation to whatever it is. And in this case, that being the job. The neutral state is I have the job now. I'm so happy at my new job. I love my new job. And just letting the bridge of events play out and let everything happen the way it needs to. And persisting in this way that, again, like we've been talking about lately, is not forceful. It's just that neutrality. It's just holding the course, staying the course with that neutrality and really feeling and imagining like all the techniques that we've described in this video. I think this was a really good breakdown, really good post to break down. Let me know your thoughts down below. Would love to hear your opinions on this. With that being said, much love as always, and I will see you guys in the next video.